But no, in all seriousness, it was nice just to see another solid week from the Bills, another evolution in terms of how they operate. We saw execution, we saw energy, we saw talent. It's really refreshing and fun to see as a Bills fan. And these episodes, I feel like we'd be doing the film room regardless. But as someone mentioned there in the chat earlier, that it's always fun to do these episodes after a win and a good performance. So I'm pumped and ready for another film room.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you joining me again. Again, we're coming off the off season, so little rusty last week, but I thought it went pretty well. We're going to cover a lot of film. As you guys know, the format has kind of changed. We're not just scrutinizing Josh Allen anymore. We're going to be looking at both sides of the ball now, some clips from several different players. Sometimes we're going to have game strategy, some concepts, some schemes, and we're going to cover a bunch of those things tonight. On the offensive side, man, Ant, tell them what we're going to cover as far as the scheme side of things on the offensive side.
Ooh, we're going to take a look at some of what Mitchell Trubisky did and how he executed almost his own version of Brian Daboll's offense in terms of pace and tempo and what he looked like in his return to Chicago and how the Bills executed on offense. And we're also going to take a look at some of the tight end grouping, look at some stuff that the Bills did with Hollister and Knox and the use of that position grouping and what the Bills are doing to make things easier for the tight ends and for the quarterback and for the offense as a whole. And then see, I told Erik that before we got on. He's got the hair. Now he's got the background and the lighting. He's trying to show me up. This is crazy. I told you so. I was gonna say that.
No, it's all good.
And also some Reggie Gilliam, some Isaiah McKenzie, some nuance and some added elements and layers that they've added to their games. And so a little evolution on the offensive side, which is crazy to say about a preseason game. So
I love it. I love it, man. I'm excited about this episode. We're going to start with the offense. Ant kind of broke down a few things we're going to take a look at. So let's start with the offense. Let's talk about Mitchell Trubisky, his return to the Windy City. A few things that I noticed watching live was the pace and tempo of the game and script that Brian Daboll kind of set him up with. Almost a strategy to kind of wear out the Bears defense. 22 plays in the first quarter, 42 in the half. Time of possession in that first quarter alone was 9:14 to 5:46. And we're going to break down Singletary's touchdown. And I think a lot of the time of possession, the pace and that tempo in that early part of the game really had to do with that. I liked Daboll's script as far as the quick game decision-making for Trubisky, a lot of RPOs, a lot of play action, some bootlegs, getting the ball out of his hand. I mean, he averaged 2.43 seconds from snap to attempt. He went 16 for 22 in those situations and completed at 72.4% and 181 yards, man. It was a really up-tempo type of script from Brian Daboll for Trubisky's return. What other things, stuck out to you as far as Trubisky and the offense?
Just how comfortable he looked and how dialed in and settled he looked, whether it's the supporting cast he has around him or the game plan or Daboll specifically. He just looked almost in rhythm from the jump. We saw last week against Detroit when we broke down the film, when we talked about, the heavy run game plan that the Bills had against Detroit, and Trubisky only had one pass, or he had one completion. He threw 2 passes total. And instead we come into this game and was thought, maybe the Bills will run the ball a little, keep trying to diagnose some things from 2020. And they just let him air it out and let it rip. And exactly what you said, I think the up-tempo aspect of it and the pace combined with the sets and the alignments that we saw, they just got him into a comfortable rhythm early and he started feeling it. And they also schemed and diagrammed some things well to get some guys open, but they got him into a rhythm early and really just really made him look like, again, it's preseason, but he looked like a seasoned guy out there, the guy who maybe Chicago fans thought they were going to get when they foolishly traded up for him that year in the draft. And comfortable, dialed in. He had a couple throws that maybe weren't the best, but he had a lot of good ball placement on a lot of throws, which is something that a lot of people like to knock him for. So a really good game from him.
Give me your quick thoughts on how you feel about him being QB2 versus Matt Barkley last year.
I feel a lot better just from the aspect of, and I say that as a person who liked Matt Barkley. I like what he brought to the quarterback room. I like what he brought to helping Josh Allen along. And as a person, like the kind of quality human being that he is, I like Matt Barkley a lot, but I feel much more comfortable knowing that, God forbid, knock on wood, if something happens to Josh Allen, I'd rather have Mitchell Trubisky coming in and starting a game. This is a guy with legitimate playoff experience. He's put together some solid games and some solid runs. I know he wasn't the prince that was promised for Chicago fans. And we also take his skill set into play. He's not Josh Allen, but he's got mobility. He's got a big enough arm. And I think what we saw from this preseason game was you can get him into a rhythm and do some things. Again, this wasn't against the starters the whole time in full tilt, but we saw what could be done given his skill set and a potential supporting cast around him.
Yeah, and you guys are going to see some film from him, and so we'll kind of get into some of his game. But there are two topics that I wanted to cover in this breakdown on the offensive side of the ball, and that was really the evolution of Brian Daboll's offense. And what I'm talking about is specifically we're going to start with the tight ends and their alignments, and it's something that I noticed in this game. You know, we're used to seeing tight ends in the Earhart-Perkins offense being spread out wide, being in the slot, being away from, inline positions. Well, I think what we're seeing a little more of now this year, and you saw it early in this game, is Dawson Knox and Hollister kind of not in line, but, kind of spread out just a little bit, a little tighter, out wide a little bit right here. You see a nasty alignment. So he's not really in line. Like last year, we saw a lot of nub tight end sets. That means we saw Dawson Knox in line here in these 3x1 sets. Now they're kind of spreading them out a little more. And this is just a little curl swing route to the bottom of the screen. And it just really spaces out the defense a lot better. It gives Dawson Knox a nice clean release. And I really like this rep by him because really he's reading these two guys, obviously to the weak side of this passing formation here, and just watch him just kind of slow play it. He talked about being on the same page with the quarterback this offseason and really, changing the pace of this route, being open when he is the option. And you see that there. It's an easy read for Trubisky early in the game. Linebacker vacates to the swing. He's got an open window over the middle. And that's what the Bills need. They need tight ends that can get free releases, not have to work through traffic, but more importantly, catch plays over the middle, catch passes over the middle, because it's something the Bills offense has never really done that well. And it's something that actually Jacob Hollister actually does really well. And we'll see some of those plays in this game. Again, same type of formation, just split out just a little bit, and watch Knox here. He changes that release just a little bit. And, you see the linebacker kind of stay right here and sit in this hook to curl zone. Well, guess what? What's Trubisky going to do? He's going to swing it to Singletary. And this is what we want to see, right, Anthony? I know you love this play. Singletary gets the ball in the flats. He's got to make a corner miss. And that's the matchup you want, a running back versus a corner.
Yeah, and Singletary took advantage of it. We spoke about Singletary last week, talking about the idea of, being a running back at the NFL level, and you're going to be one-on-one and you have to make that guy miss. And he makes that guy miss, and he makes other guys miss as well. And it's very similar to the play before with Knox but instead this time, 57, he does not vacate the middle and go with Singletary. He stays home. So the read for Trubisky, he sees that. Yep, he eyes 57, realizes he's going to continue his drop, so he has to dump it off to Singletary. Not a great throw from Trubisky. The corner comes up. Singletary gathers himself and just shakes him right away. And the contact balance, that's something we've seen from Singletary throughout his career. He maintains his balance, hand on the ground, gets up. And this is my favorite part. Leave it frozen right here. So Spencer Brown also had a great rep on the play before this, just burying Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
But this one I like too. The physicality and the athleticism for Brown are really on display. He gives a shove to Khalil Mack early on here and then realizes the ball goes to Singletary, hustles his butt out there, gets a head on him, not enough to draw a flag, but just enough to move him out of the way. And then this is where Singletary excels. All this defense is flowing. They're flowing after him, and we have the start-stop ability. He just gets upfield a little bit, plants, similar to what we saw last week on a couple of his runs, that lateral agility and that lateral burst and acceleration, just such an easy sidestep. And then again, continuation from the positives we saw last week, makes that second and third guy miss, then doesn't get too cute, gets upfield, puts his head down, gets as many positive yards as he can, which is great considering he started off with that ball in his hand about 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's a fun play to break down. I mean, it's very almost like Shady-esque, right? It was a little Sean McCoy there. So again, back to these tight end alignments. Here comes Hollister. He's in the boundary to the top of the screen. They bring him in, but it's a 2x2 set. Normally, you're going to see that tight end on the line of scrimmage, but no. he's basically playing a big slot. Again, it's a slot position here. He's off the line of scrimmage, doesn't have to work through traffic. This is just a shallow drag concept with it. McKenzie running the curl route over the middle and Hollister running the shallow drag. Pretty much his favorite route. He was one of the top guys, tight ends last year, running this shallow drag, attack in the middle of the field. Easy read for the quarterback. As soon as these two guys over the middle vacate, guess what? It's wide open over the middle. Get him the ball in an advantageous spot so that he can catch it and run with it. And again, you see that quickness. He's up to speed quickly, and he's able to turn up the field and get an explosive play for the Bills offense. This is what the Bills need. Get the ball in the hands of their big tight ends and get them in space. And Hollister, he wins with quickness. Knox takes a little more time to get up to speed once he catches the ball, but when he does, he is a train wreck when you try to tackle him. I mean, he just bowls people over. But talk about Hollister and really the difference between him and Dawson Knox, because they're similar players in that they're kind of move tight ends more than anything, more than traditional inline tight ends, but they have a little bit different game.
Yeah, you started to touch on it there. Hollister is quicker, especially early in his routes and early in his gait than Dawson Knox is, but Knox is that, the juggernaut type of thing. Like once he gets the ball in his hands and gets going, he's a monster. But Hollister, I think he's also more polished in terms of how he is as a route runner. And I DM'd you about this clip when we were going over stuff to go for the game. I wanted to see this so bad. I love how Hollister comes off the line of scrimmage, sells the outside route with his body language, with his head, everything. Like actually, if you bring it, leave it right there. That's perfect. He's about to plant and go back inside. He's selling the outside route here to this linebacker. His angle of his body, his footwork, his head, everything about this to the linebacker is screaming, okay, he's going outside release. And then he gives a quick jab step. I love that he also fights to get clean. He doesn't get gummed up with that linebacker. He doesn't try to hand fight. He doesn't get too much into his body. He does a hard jab step, cuts right through, fights through the arm and the grab of the linebacker, makes himself available. And then Trubisky honestly puts a pretty good ball. He could have maybe put it out a little more in front of him, but Trubisky does enough, and Hollister does a good job of maintaining through the catch and bailing his quarterback out a little bit. And I love this too. I mentioned it a little. He turns his body at the end there after just selling. Oh, everyone just watched the sell outside, cut back inside. He turns, gives his quarterback a nice surface area to throw that ball to, takes the ball to the ground, secures it. Those are the types of things. Knox has all this athleticism, and Hollister does too as well, but Hollister has more polish and refinement to his game, the type of polish and refinement we want to see from Dawson Knox, because if you add that to the raw athleticism and potential that he has, that's what we want to see from Knox and what could make him an even bigger weapon. But Hollister adds a nice little wrinkle because of the precision that he has in his game.
Yeah, real quick breakdown of this play. If you guys remember when the Bears played Tua last week, you saw that pass that was late down the middle was intercepted. This is the same exact banjo coverage. It's a switch in the red zone. So they're pretty much in man coverage. These two guys are matching the tight end, Hollister and Moss here. And because of the release of Moss here outside the tackle box, and you can even see his split is actually wide. He's, behind the tackle there. So as he releases outside the tackle box, these two guys are switching. You see the corner is telling the linebacker 57, hey, you have the tight end now because the running back is releasing outside. So there's a switch there. That's why you see that linebacker overplay that. He lost leverage on Hollister there, and that's how they took advantage of it. So really good job by Brian Dable and his staff of scouting the Bears. Again, that same exact coverage that nearly produced a touchdown, but Tua didn't have the arm to cash the check like Josh Allen would have. And like Trubisky did here, tight window throw, really good separation. Again, that's how Hollister wins. He wins with quickness a lot differently than Dawson Knox. So let's take a look at another play. Tight end alignment. Yes, he's on the line here in the slot in this 2x2 set. He's just running a seam route. But because he is split off the line, not in line, you see him able to release right up the seam. You'll see it better from the end zone angle. Again, just putting him in position to not have to work through traffic, space these routes perfectly. There's a split. Again, he's not in line. If he was in line, there's a chance this guy could get a piece of him, kind of slow down that release, but it also helps with the spacing on the back end. Watch what happens to this guy as they're in a single high set. As the ball snap, you see Hollister get right up the seam, and it's an easy read. Here's Trubisky holding that middle of field safety, single high look. That's what happens when you get a single high zone look and you get a guy down the seam. This is the throw you want to. Again, keep in mind, right hash here, really tight throw right here, and just a good job by Trubisky holding that safety, putting him in the hole, and then just a clean release for a quick tight end up the seam. Again, another one of those things. Again, tight end splits, tight end alignments, something to keep an eye on, because we know that Knox and Hollister and all the other tight ends on this roster are not typical inline tight ends. So why put them there? Why put them in those positions to have to work through traffic and getting bumped at the line of scrimmage? So awesome little adjustment and tweak, maybe just for this game, but hopefully for Brian Daboll and the Bills offense moving forward. So again, we talked about the tempo. We talked about how many plays are ran, time of possession, all that good stuff. I think it had an effect on this play right here. But the other thing, it's kind of a lead into what we're going to talk about after this touchdown play. 21 personnel, a fullback, Gilliam. You see Singletary break the play here. We saw the Bills run short yardage situation, handoffs, real quick dive plays to Gilliam here. Well, look what it does. It influences Ogletree right here, gets him downhill just a little bit so that Dawkins can get a piece of him. Gives, honestly, Singletary not the best look because he has Eddie Jackson right here coming down the field of alley. Good contained by this player, but the dead leg, I think, got 94 here. The dead leg, watch the little dead leg. I'll do it in slow motion because the dead legs, it doesn't look like much, but that little extension or manipulation of his stride there causes this guy to widen and almost accelerate this way to widen him just a bit to cut back. And then, most people think because Singletary is not the biggest guy, he's easy to bring down. No, you add in his contact balance, but he's also really thick. And I think it's 97 Mario Edwards trying to, get a piece of him on the hips. If you're not going to wrap this guy, he's going to break it. He does, and he gets into the end zone. So talk about this play and your thoughts on it.
I loved, to mention your point there of the whole time possession and pace and tempo thing. So this was the final play of a 10-play, 72-yard drive for the Bills that took 4 minutes and 3 seconds. Again, for perspective, in that first quarter, the Bears total had 5 minutes and 46 seconds of possession in the entire first quarter. So the Bills had 1 minute less and 43 seconds less than the Bears just on this drive alone. But leave it right there. Leave it right there. This run, if you were to look at this position right here, right, and say, okay, like Singletary ends up getting the first down, I think that would even be a little bit of a surprise. We'd be like, okay, you can understand. Devin Singletary has no right housing this run right here whatsoever. The Bears honestly have him decently enough bottled in. I know Singletary hit him with that dead leg. Maybe you get a couple runs, but exactly like Ken's comment there, I think why we're thinking Singletary looks faster this year, and he genuinely might be, he's got a lot more upfield acceleration. We talked about it last week against Detroit, and he shows it again here. Once he sets up 94 with that dead leg, he bursts through those two, and his contact balance, again, something we've always seen from him, Edwards almost propels him forward. Singletary just shakes it off, doesn't break stride because of the power he has down low, and then is able to burst forward.
This is where I think you see that burst, bro. I think right here, he does accelerate and he is redirected here. But Eddie Jackson is a freaking good safety. One of my favorite safeties coming out. He does. And he has the boundary as another defender. But I think this is where you really see that burst and elusiveness really kick in right there. He turns the corner at full speed. I don't know if this is something that Devin really would have, gotten to the end zone last year. Maybe in his first season, 2019 or so. But this is noticeable. I mean, we pointed out weeks, back-to-back weeks. I think that's really where you saw that quickness kick in the gear.
And taking it up there without losing speed as he changes direction and the ability to actually turn. You mentioned it last week and I couldn't think of the word. He accelerates through the apex of the cut and the apex of the run and just leaves Eddie Jackson in the dust. Again, you mentioned, especially coming forward and from a physical standpoint, Eddie Jackson's a quality safety going back to his days at Alabama. And he had him in the alley. He had defensive support, and Motor just used that burst and that upfield acceleration and agility and turned the corner at full speed and bursted through the apex of the run and housed it quickly on a run that, again, he had no business scoring on.
No doubt about it, man. And again, that kind of brings us, it's a good segue because that brings us to the next part of, the evolution of the offense. And I don't want to say it's a complete evolution. It's really almost like it's bringing it back, because I mean, obviously Daboll's had DeMarco in this offense, and he actually had DeMarco when he was in Kansas City years ago too. So he knows how to scheme an offense with a fullback. And obviously, with the Patriots, they had some good fullbacks over their time. So I think he knows how to, scheme them in there. And why would an offense want to bring back a fullback role like Gilliam? Well, there are a lot of different reasons for that. And one thing, a couple of that I think are, first of all, you add in an extra gap. So think about it. If you're looking at this formation here, as Gilliam moves, whether they run the ball left or right, that's creating two more gaps to the left and right of him. So wherever he inserts, now the defense has to maintain their gap integrity and process as he's moving. What gap's mine? Just like when a guard pulls, you have to process the new gaps that are being added to the one side and being subtracted from the other. So that's really what you're doing by adding a fullback to the offense, especially one that's versatile like him. Obviously, he can catch it out of the backfield as well. So he can also be used as a decoy. You saw it on the last play. They've run dives on short yardage situations. They did it a bunch in this game, for a couple touchdowns, where you fake it to him and you can pitch it out and get a guy like Motor, who isn't the fastest guy straight line speed wise, but get him on the edge in advantageous situations. Use him as a decoy. Sometimes the ball may be going right and you're going to send your fullback to the left because those linebackers, those second level defenders, are reading the fullback. And so that if they're just keying in on him and not paying attention to the flow of the ball, they totally take a guy out of the play. That's what we call split flow. You see that pretty much every game. And the other thing is just, creating pattern match issues when you go into coverage, when you run those bootlegs, when you have a split backfield. Those are three things I think adding a guy like Gilliam with his versatility could help this offense, get to another level. It's something that they wanted to do with DeMarco, but it didn't quite work out. But I think we both can agree that Gilliam is kind of a different animal.
Oh, for sure. And I liked DeMarco when he was with the Bills, and so I don't want it to be a knock against him, but the athleticism that Reggie Gilliam possesses and the positional versatility, in the mold of that, you have it in our notes here, almost in that mold of that Kyle Shanahan H-back type role, being able to function as a runner out of the backfield, a blocker out of the backfield, a receiver out of the backfield, being able to function in movement aspects in addition to the physicality aspects. And I love what you mentioned about the split flow. The misdirection is so key in today's NFL. Andy Reid has been living off it, in Kansas City, in addition to some other things. And for the Bills to be able to add that to this offense is tremendous. And this is a nice clear out block from Reggie Gilliam on this play and some good contact balance from Zach Moss. The highlight on this play, not to get away from Moss, Spencer Brown for me at left tackle, who absolutely mauls his man here as we point him out, let the clip run. Physical in the run game, nasty, puts his man on the ground, just violent and vicious. But you mentioned it with Gilliam, we see the zone run here and Gilliam takes off, doesn't maul his man, just gets in the way, gets a hat on a hat, and clears some space. If we could have sealed the backside block a little more, Cody Ford, gets to that second level, but he isn't able to cut off his man. That's the first guy that gets to Zach Moss. But we see some of the things that have made Moss successful, which is his power, his contact balance. He gets hit, rolls off it, falls forward. And that's a nice thing to have in an offense because, again, you're not always going to perfectly execute. You're not going to get a hat on a hat. You're not going to drive everyone off the ball. So what can you do? Can you make a guy miss? Singletary did earlier. Or sometimes you just get through a guy. Moss does. And a lot of it is due to the execution up front on the left side of the ball with Brown and Bodker, and then Gilliam leading the way there, making things uncomfortable for Eddie Jackson in the defense.
Yeah, and we talked about using the fullback as a decoy. Here they use McKenzie on that jet sweep. Almost, again, we talked about Shanahan. Daboll studies Shanahan's offense. He studies some of the better offenses in the league, the Chiefs, Evan McVay with LA. You're using this, this eye candy with McKenzie, and look what it does as he comes across the formation. These guys have to bump. That allows, they attempted to get a better angle for Ford. Does it work always? No, it doesn't, but good work. Bucker trying to find work. There's really no one there. He's an uncovered lineman, but he does help finish the defender right there as Brown just pancakes him into the ground. But I really, really like what Ryan Bates does on this little skip reach. So he's trying to get to the play side corner. Look at the quickness out of his stance, out of his his stance there. Like, look at him work to that play side shoulder, get his helmet play side. Then he just works his feet in position to seal off a big defensive lineman in Tonga, the rookie from BYU.
And that's so important. If Tonga gets across his face, this run is almost done.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about it. So north and south, 21 personnel, using a little eye candy. That's what we want to see from Dable in this offense. And it kind of brings us into this play. 21 personnel, balls on the left hash. You're seeing Bakker pull from the left guard position, big crackback block by Kumaro on the left-hand side, and just a pitch out. And again, the evolution of this offense, if the Bills can get the numbers advantage out of 21 personnel on the perimeter, where they get the down block by Kumaro, he wipes him out. You got a hat on a hat here, with Gilliam leading up through the hole. I mean, this is Zach Moss getting the edge, getting the perimeter, and being able to nearly score on this play. Look at him. He's at full speed. Even this backside linebacker who does get his arms around him, he's not going to bring him down at full speed. Goes out right at the 1 yard line, nearly scores. But this is something the Bills didn't have last year, and they haven't had really since Dable's first year, where they're able to run some of these type of plays. So it's kind of nice to see it, raise its hands again. And just Gilliam, man. I love the physicality on this play.
I don't know what I love more, the Gilliam physicality or really the athleticism of Bodker hustling his butt out there, driving the corner out and widening the alley a little bit more for no disrespect to Bodker. It's the Gilliam block for me. Like, just getting up in the hole, meeting that defender in the hole, clearing him out, putting him on the ground. This is one of those runs when I used to play Madden before it was trash, and you'd run that toss and you would just see there's only like 2 defenders out there and you had 2 blockers, and it was like, oh my God, I've got a hat on a hat and I should have a clear alley to the end zone. And Bodker gets a hat on, Gilliam gets a hat on. I know we challenged it. We didn't get it. I thought Moss scored on this. I thought he got the ball over the pylon. I really thought he was going to get it, but shout out again. And you mentioned it, Kumaro with a nice seal on the edge with that crackback. Bodker gets out and is athletic, and boom, look at Gilliam just unloads on his man. And it was a really strong game for Gilliam. A couple touchdowns, a couple nice runs in garbage time to be that workhorse running back down the stretch. But you mentioned it with the 21 personnel. We know what the Bills are going to do when they're in 3 wides or 4 wides or maybe even 5 sometimes, and they spread it out and they go 11 and they do all these things. But the ability to maintain personnel fluidity and adaptability and know that they potentially could have this in their arsenal, that if they have to run some 21, they can do that and they can maintain the physicality and take advantage of some of the weaknesses of opposing defenses. It's nice to know that they have this in their back pocket.
Yeah, no, definitely. John, man,
love John.
You always, support us. You've been here since day one, man. He's always sending me messages on Facebook too, in the DMs, and, talking about, giving us props on all the different coverage that we have. So John, I appreciate the donation and the support there.
Oh yeah.
He says Spencer Brown is absolutely one of our best 5. Ooh, I don't know. Dawkins and Williams and Morris. I will battle on anyone else. Get this kid on the field. Easy to find. Follow the carnage of guys on their back. Quarter 1. He's saying,
he's got timestamps. He's got timestamps.
See, these are the type of fans that we love. This is what you guys come here for. Break down film with us, and you start to see the game differently. John is one of those guys. That's why he's been with us since day one, man. We appreciate you, John, with the time sensor and everything. We're going to see a lot of Spencer Brown, whether it's through, if maybe an injury pops up or an extra offensive lineman. The Bills are going to stress the run game, sometimes just to close out games. Hopefully they get up and they want to close games out, kind of like that run by Moss there, finishing the play there. We saw it last year. He kind of came into that role. So I think you're going to see Spencer Brown as that extra offensive lineman. I think he'll see plenty of snaps. Even if Williams and Dawkins are 100% snap-wise, I think Brown's going to get his reps.
Yeah, his athleticism is really promising. I don't think he's completely polished as a pass rusher. He looked much better at right tackle this week than he did left tackle, but he's still got some areas to work on there. But, I mean, the athleticism is showing already. His physicality is flashing. I think he's someone to be very excited about as we move forward in this season and with the future of this team for sure.
Yeah, and finally, I want to give some props to wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie, because watching his film and watching him since day one and everything he's went through, it's been really fun to track his development. You see this diamond release, so he stabs outside, gets that defender shifting his weight from right to left, and just gets the inside lane on this RPO early in the game. And again, holds onto the ball. He's running right into a post safety, guys. Like this takes some balls, let's be honest. And so really nice release and that acceleration just to see how he's come from being, a returner to a jet sweep guy, a gadget guy, the eye candy, as you saw in that last play, seeing him develop as a receiver. It has been fun to watch. Again, RPO, and it's a pin and pull RPO. Love that. Getting a couple guys pulling. They're reading 44 right there, Ogletree. Middle opens up for McKenzie. Again, he's able to catch it. So I liked seeing him in this game. He started off really hot. This is a play right here with him in the slot to the bottom. This is a play that they run for Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis all the time. It's one that Davis scored several touchdowns on. If you remember the Niners game, the Steelers game, McKenzie's running just a little option route. And you see him slow play the release, read the guys in coverage there. And with the Bills in 3rd and long situation here, he just sits, finds that little window, kind of shuffles this way, and Trubisky hits him. They're in a range where I think they probably told Trubisky, hey, you got 2 plays here. Being on the fringe of field goal range there, you see hit Trubisky, find him, put him in 4th down, manageable range. And that's when it really led to the motor touchdown. The motor touchdown was that play, the next play. And this is where he's always been good, right, Ant? His speed in the screen game is something that he's been really good with since day one.
Yeah, back when he was more of just a gadget player or a niche player or just a little bit of juice or electricity on a play. But what's nice to have on this play is you also get the athleticism of the offensive line. Spencer Brown shows it immediately. He's the first guy to clear out. Look at he's almost to McKenzie right at the time McKenzie gets the ball, and he sets up that wall, allows McKenzie to make that easy cutback, just put his foot in the ground, get upfield. And we even see John Feliciano, who has slimmed down this offseason, leading the play upfield. I love on this play that Feliciano wants McKenzie to follow
He's so
him.
bummed.
He's
so bummed. Look at him. He's like,
his hands up. And then he looks at the sideline after this and throws his hands up like, man, but we see the first down gain there for McKenzie using his shiftiness, his explosiveness, and what he's always been good at. And it's what I love about these 3 plays you've selected is it's kind of gone backwards in terms of where the evolution of what his game was. Like he started just doing plays like these. And the first 2 clips we showed his ability to get off the line and use a nice release and use some body language to sell one move, stick in the ground, get vertical, get skinny, get fast, and get himself open. We saw the option route on the second clip you showed. And then this one here, I love at the beginning of this play, before it starts, Trubisky is looking at coverage and he's communicating with McKenzie. They're talking, they're looking at each other. Trubisky's hand signaling, McKenzie's looking in on him. Then he looks at the coverage himself, gains an understanding of what is going on to figure out what he's going to do and how. And I like how he changes his pace and his stride multiple times in this route, a little bit of nuance, something that like that option route you mentioned earlier, something that Cole Beasley does. We've heard how much McKenzie has learned from Cole Beasley. He gets off the line, gets the nice release because of the formation, changes his pace, and then explodes, and he bursts at the stem of that route. Look at the separation that he creates. So much separation, makes it a nice, easy throw for his quarterback. Also, even though we're talking about McKenzie, really great ball from Trubisky. Put it right on the money. Let him get upfield with it as much as he can. Good timing. So kudos to Trubisky for good timing and a good, accurate ball. But this route is pause it right when he gets a little more, right when he gets to like the top of the route, right there. So they're close. And then McKenzie just flashes in front of his face. They're only about 1 yard, 2 yards separate. By the time McKenzie starts his cut, he creates almost 3 yards of separation horizontally when they're already close. Look how much separation there is there. And if it's just a really good thing from a guy, again, who started out as a gadget guy, a niche guy. You're now seeing evolution to his game, which allows for evolution in this offense. And when you add it with the things that he already can do that contribute to the misdirection and just the speed and agility and natural ability he has, now you're adding more polish and technique and nuance. He's become a real weapon for this offense.
Yeah, and He has a good play caller, and we're going to end, I believe this is the last offensive play. We're going to end with a Dable special. So it's something that Bruce Exclusive and I broke down from the Broncos game last year. They ran this very same play. Josh Allen extended the play. He wanted to throw it to Davis over the middle. He reloaded and hit Dawson Knox for a touchdown to the bottom corner of the end zone. Same exact play, but watch the design behind this. Again, they're inside the 5-yard line. They're in the low red zone. Here's the shift. The Bills are in 12 personnel. Hey, they're going to run the ball, right? You know, they're shifting. They're changing the strength of the formation. Now here comes Gabriel Davis. Now I want you to track this defender, number 43. He's basically following Davis back into the backfield right here. They did this last year, as I said, with Diggs. This was Diggs right here. So Davis, for most of this game, was playing Diggs' role. So the thing I love about this, is post-snap. So they're struggling to line up. These guys were still moving around. Where am I supposed to be? They're trying to get aligned, let alone, trying to figure out what happens post-snap. So as the ball snapped, they're faking it to Davis, but they're also having the running back come across. Like, think about this, and you'll see it from the end zone angle. Where's the ball?
There's so much misdirection.
There's so much misdirection. So as Davis comes across the formation, Eddie Jackson takes him. So 43 drops him. Eddie Jackson takes him. He's the middle of the field safety. That is why they have Kumaro wide open over the middle. Here's 43. He doesn't even know who he's going with. Neither does this guy. It's one of their guys, but someone else, one of the safeties, I believe 43, probably should have just sat in the middle of the field there. They don't. Trubisky hits Kumaro perfectly on his hands over my dude, Jalen Johnson, who I was a big fan of coming out with and broke down film with him on the Cover One YouTube channel. So here's the end zone angle, Anthony. Talk about what you like about this play. I just know it was really Brian Dable flexing.
I've got a freeze I want you to do right there. Just look at the middle. It's completely vacated. Eddie Jackson, number 4, has gone with Gabriel Davis. The middle of the field is completely open because of the misdirection from the offensive line, because of Singletary going out to the flats, because of the fake to Gabriel Davis and him continuing his route. You've got Singletary mentioned there. You've got arrows everywhere indicating and showing the misdirection. And that last arrow you just made for Jake Kumaro coming over the middle, good job by Kumaro and good throw by Trubisky, putting it up high. And Kumaro had some dropsies issues this game. So nice job from him using strong hands and coming down with it. But this play, like you said, it's all play design. That middle of the field is completely vacated because of the misdirection, because of the play call. I like seeing Kumaro here fight through Jalen Johnson. I was a big Johnson fan as well coming out last year. I like how Kumaro gets a little physical, uses that size, uses that length, uses the strength. He's got something that not a lot of these Bills receivers have, which is 1, amazing flowing brown locks of hair. But 2, he's got size. He's got a little more muscle, nice separation, and a good height difference. And Trubisky recognizes that, puts the ball up high, and not even Jalen Johnson, who 1 is a good corner, but 2 has good arm length. He can't get to that ball, and good timing of it by Kumaro, brings it down, secures it, and gets a nice little touchdown for himself.
Yeah, that was a fun play that, Dable kind of, again, showed last year and brought it back out, to be honest. It was fun to break down last year. Definitely fun to see Kumaro score on that touchdown. So let's flip the script. Let's go to the defense, because it's really why a lot of these fans of Cover One came here. I thought the defense was phenomenal. I thought they played great. I liked what they did. Their game plan versus Andy Dalton versus Justin Fields, how it was slightly different. The Bills ended up blitzing Justin Fields 32%, Andy Dalton only 10.5%. So it was a slightly different game plan. But what they did to Fields, I know he got loose a few times. He broke contain a few times. That's going to happen. I mean, just think back to Josh Allen when he was holding on to the ball. He didn't really know what he was looking at post snap. And he would just hold on to the ball, end up breaking contain, end up breaking a lot of tackles actually that year. I mean, I thought the Bills did a good job of confusing Fields, pre to post snap as far as their coverages go and changing that picture pre to post snap. But also I think overall the 4 defensive linemen, when they were rushing, did a good job of containing. And we're going to look at some of those plays to the tune of when they didn't blitz Fields, he only completed 46% for 34 yards and a 2.6 yards per attempt. So I thought they did a good job. what do you think about their game plan on against Fields, a guy that we wanted to see them contain him, but I thought they did a good job. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I liked it from, everything you said is spot on. And I liked the almost in-game adjustment they made. We saw, a contain get, vacated a little bit from the defensive line. We saw some guys get a little too much upfield, and Fields' first possession really just started taking off because he had so much green, a la, unfortunately to what has happened a lot with the Bills with Patrick Mahomes. And I thought it was nice that they kind of recalibrated some things. And exactly like you said, we're going to show some clips of the Bills started to change their rushes a little bit on Fields as the game continued. They changed their rush lanes and their angles, and they also started to do a little more spying in the middle of the field with some of the guys on the defensive line to be able to contain Fields and make him more of a pure thrower and not be able to take advantage of his legs. And it led to the inefficiency in the stats that you mentioned.
Yeah, and we're going to try to keep it short as far as Gregory Rousseau goes, because we're going to talk about a lot of the edge players. We're going to talk about Rousseau, Epenessa, Basham. We're going to talk about Obata briefly, even Daryl Johnson. And then finally, we're going to end with Zimmer. So there's some of the players we're going to talk about on the defensive side. But let's talk, from the top, the depth and the versatility. Each of these guys we're going to talk about has versatility, has length. It's almost to the point where the Bills have now gotten the edge players they want, not just from a IQ standpoint, not just from how their DNA is as far as their character and whatnot, but also some of their tangible things, the physical traits, the length and whatnot. And Rousseau, what can we say? He's effective when he's in. He doesn't play a lot of snaps in the preseason, but he's consistently collapsing the width of the pocket. He's obviously it's easier to do, as I'll show, when you have an offensive line coach that is teaching vertical sets, like Juan Castillo. You guys remember him? Yeah, he's offensive line coach for the Bears. So are you surprised at how well the Bills defensive line depth really played against those offensive linemen? I'm not. And his hand placement and power, you're going to see that on this play as he rushes inside. Just look at the power and how he collapses the width of the pocket. Again, watch how these guys all fan out. Watch how that tackle tries to meet Rousseau. Watch how that edge of the pocket, the width of the pocket, just disappears because of the length of Gregory Rousseau.
It's beautiful. It was something that, you and I spoke about, if it was a potential narrative of certain analysts throughout the offseason, the whole idea of like compressing the pocket and pocket compression. And we're starting to see this pay dividends for this Bills defensive line, particularly with Gregory Rousseau. Just watching him being able to, whether it's the inside shoulder or the outside, he's using his length and leverage on almost every single rush. And it's not just a simple like, oh, I'm going to do this every time. Like, he is cerebrally understanding where he needs to place his hands, what angle he needs to do it at, and how to be able to drive to maintain the leverage. And what's also beautiful about this play, we get a nice rush from AJ Epenessa on the other side, and we get a nice rush from Ed Oliver right there. Freeze it and leave it right there. There is nowhere to go for Andy Dalton. I don't care who this quarterback is, with where Epenessa is, where Rousseau is, and where Ed Oliver is. There is no, okay, so-and-so got too far upfield, I can just escape to the right or to the left. Oh, these two guys got upfield, but there's no pressure coming from the interior. Let me just step up and make a throw. There is nowhere for Andy Dalton to go. He tries to even step left, but Rousseau drives the right tackle in front of Andy Dalton and then almost reaches him with the arm that he's using to just
get over here. Little rascal.
Beautiful. And then look at Epenessa. I love this too. Epenessa quickly disengages, realizes that Dalton's about to escape the pocket, chases him down, forces the incompletion.
Look at his hand. Look at his hands, though. He's got the long arm in there right there, but then look at the arm lift right here. Look at him lift with that right hand to disengage, right? Disengage right there, and then he gets his eyes on the ball, on Dalton there, and then just flushes him out of the pocket. This is, last week we talked about Epenessa being the disruptor and Groot being the finisher. Well, on this play, it was the other way around, and just a good play from those young pass rushers. And here's a play that you'll see, Groot change direction, and then that closing speed just closes in. This is what the Bills need when teams want to run those bootlegs, when they want the Bills to oversell and fast flow on those run plays, those boot action type plays. You got to have a guy that can close and change direction when you have like a Mahomes getting on the edge there, the Dak Prescotts of the league. And just a little, I circled it at the beginning of the play. Josh Thomas stood out last week against the Lions, the safety here, number 36. Look at him right there. He's directing Hamlin. He's like, no, you need to move up a little bit. Something to keep an eye on as he goes forward. Obviously, a guy that's been in the system, he's out helping out another young guy in the system, which comes to be important because now Hamlin, he's in position to slice on this crosser with the corner getting back. So just a little thing right there from Thomas helping his dude out, getting Hamlin in position. But back to Groot, look at him change direction. And yeah, does Dalton get back inside? Yes. But was he contained? Yes. And you see the length. Okay, change of direction right there. Oh, Dalton thinks he's got separation. No. While he gets the ball away, look at the wrap. Groot is still wrapping him up. If the ball gets thrown away. So yes, he changes direction and it looks like there's separation, but look at the closing speed. And then again, the length come into play and range and wingspan by Groot to make the tackle on Dalton as he throws it away.
The gait and the stride of Rousseau, in addition to the change of direction, like I think he's more athletic than he gets credit for, but the gait and the stride, like he stops here because Dalton changes direction and he takes literally 2 steps and is almost even with Dalton. So Dalton like kind of has him beat here. He stops and he plants. And then if you go slow, he takes 1 step to get himself right, 2 steps, and then he comes for the 3rd and he's already on him. And then because of the length in the arms and the upper body, exactly, he's on him. How many times throughout the year on these or throughout seasons, not just the Bills, but for anybody, if you watch any type of football, you'll see that edge with that BCR responsibility. That's one of my favorite terms from you, Eric. That bootleg, that counter, that run. How many times do we see the defensive end make the wrong read and the quarterback just bootlegs out and has tons of space, or he doesn't crash down properly? We've seen a lot of positive BCR activity from F.A. Obata this year, and now we're seeing it from Gregory Rousseau. And when you add it with the athleticism, it's beautiful. And, no disrespect for the other 2 plays. This one is my favorite because he reads Andy Dalton's drop through his man, and it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. His ability and knack for knowing and calculating and anticipating where that quarterback's going to step up into the pocket here. And he just does it again. And, we're going to say this every single week when it comes to him, and he's able to do that. But I really like how he gets into the tackle's chest here. And he just bench presses him. Like, look at right here. He's got the hips behind him. He's got the leverage. He's got his foot and base underneath him and just bench presses him backwards. You're not stopping him. Takes the inside line here to the quarterback and finishes on Andy Dalton. Another guy I want to give some props to, Vernon Butler. You don't hear much about him. More times than not, he's been on the duds end of studs or duds. But this is really good. Look at the long arm by him. Again, another big long armed guy right here. I mean, he put it in the perfect spot on the shoulder pads of that offensive lineman and drives him back into the face of Andy Dalton as well. So he did play a part in this. And I know at the end of the play, he trips up right there. And someone had mentioned that on social media, like, oh, look at Butler. He's got thrown on the play. Well, you didn't see it from this angle. You saw it from the broadcast and it looked bad, but you see it from here. He is affecting the quarterback there. He's helping get Andy Dalton to drop his eyes here as he's moving through his progressions, and you see Groot finish.
Yeah, Butler almost bends the guard over backwards just by using that long arm and almost like wrenches the guard's backwards right there. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, that's so painful for that guard. Like he looks and he's got to brace himself and he tries to lock out, but Butler just has the momentum. So great play from Butler. But Groot is the sexy talking point at this moment. And we talked about it last week, and it's the same thing again. I am genuinely impressed for any rookie, but especially for one who has as little playing experience as he does, his ability to read and calculate, like you said, read and calculate Andy Dalton's drop while also, Joe, you know what? Let me pause because we got something awesome from John. Again, John, tremendously grateful for your support as always in all its form. Thank you so much. He said way early seated, but Groot reminds me of 3 guys. Ooh, Chandler Jones, a Javon Curse reference. I love it. Javon the Freak Curse.
The freak.
That makes my heart hurt because I think Music City Miracle as soon as that happens. And Ed Too Tall Jones. If he's 75% of any of them, That's a steal. Awesome comment, John. Thank you for the donation. I will take any of those comps. If Gregory Rousseau turns out to be Chandler Jones, who's one of the most underestimated edge rushers of the last several years, Javon Curse, who was nicknamed the Freak for a reason, and Ed Too Tall Jones is a Hall of Famer for a reason for those Cowboys defenses. But it's just, again, all the talk was physically about Gregory Rousseau, how tall he is, how long he is, how tall he is. He makes McDermott look short, but it's the mental aspect of his game. He is mentally processing and calculating and reading while he's physically dominating another grown adult male. It's unbelievable, and it's tremendously strong. And, the only reason we're not talking about him more is because we get great rushes from other guys on this team, like AJ Epenessa, like we're about to see here, which his one that we're going to show later is my favorite. But this one, as soon as I saw it on the broadcast and I saw him lined up over the guard and saw him starting to do a little Joker action, I got up off my couch. It was super pumped.
Yeah, and it's up to the staff to put these guys in advantageous positions to use those tangible things like length and speed and everything that we've talked about, those physical traits. And that's what Leslie Frazier does here. If you look off to the left-hand side, that's Ed Oliver at edge. You have 3 down linemen, and then obviously AJ Epenessa is the Joker. But look where he's aligned, and then look at Thomas, the safety. Look at Adams, the linebacker. And just look at all these guys over on the left side here and how many guys there are. There's 5 guys there. So it's almost like an overload happening to the left with Epenessa over there. Well, Epenessa does leave here. And what happens on this play is Epenessa is aligned over the guard, which is something he did from time to time at Iowa. He's lined up over the guard. He and Groot off the right side here, off the right edge, get one-on-one because of that alignment early on. And you saw Thomas disappear as the ball is snapped. He gets out of there. But because of the pre-snap alignment, they still slide basically 4 guys to the left side here. 1, 2, 3, and then you count the running back. He'd be the 4th guy, kind of check releasing here. But they're only needing the block up really 2 guys here because Adams isn't coming. He's in coverage on the running back. Thomas is off the screen. So now you got one-on-ones for 2 of your better pass rushers in this game, and Epenessa and Groot, and both really win here. But let's focus in on Epenessa. 2-point stance and that quickness. Really using that newfound quickness over the last year or so. Yeah, and using that hezzy rush to get that B gap right there. And, that quickness, while he doesn't make a play on the ball here, he affects the throw here. But that quickness in the end, you're going to hear us talk about it week in and week out. That quickness is going to get him that much closer to getting hands on balls, to getting affecting the quarterback, to getting the quarterback off the spot, to getting batted passes. He nearly gets it there. And, of course, he is long as well. People kind of forget that because he was always a power guy. Well, he's a power guy because of that long arm he has, and that long arm nearly gets a piece of the ball here on this critical situation. You see Neal and Matakevich go ahead and clean up and stop them short, but you can't tell me Epenessa didn't have an effect on this pass from Dalton.
Oh, he most definitely affects this pass. He makes Dalton have to pull that trigger fast. And just while we're on it, also quality pass rush from Harrison Phillips on this play as well, who engages with the center and then gets a nice little rip, and he gets some pressure as well. Yeah, beautiful. They almost meet at the quarterback, a la the play we saw from Rousseau and Epenessa last week. But yeah, we can't talk about it enough with AJ Epenessa. This man transformed his body. He got lighter, he got leaner, he got more explosive, and you see it on a play like this. I love that stutter, hezzy rush off the beginning, almost like a receiver coming out of the slot with that stutter, and then boom. And we've seen AJ Epenessa win multiple times this preseason already with his patented long arm. You've labeled it as his go-to move, which it is, and for a good reason. But he's also developed that quick swipe action with his hands, which is why he's been so technically sound. Here, he goes from that stutter hesitation into the swipe, into a rip. Then what I like at the end too, he leans and takes this angle right here. He starts to lean and he flattens. He flattens through that guard and takes a proper angle right to where Andy Dalton is to meet him. He doesn't continue to go upfield. He doesn't widen too much. He doesn't take himself out of the play and allow himself to get blocked into Gregory Rousseau. He flattens, gets upfield, starts to see Andy throw this ball. And what does he do? Tries to make a play on the ball as best as he can, gets his hand up. I think he genuinely affects the throw. And it's a good throw from Dalton, who recovers, and a good play on the back end with that tackle by Saran Neal, which Steve Tasker loved. But the highlight here, yeah, I like what Rousseau did as well, Harrison Phillips too, but AJ Epinesa almost one-man wrecks this just because he's quicker and faster and more technically sound than the man that's trying to block him on this play.
Yeah, two things to add to this. When I see 57, I think of Lorenzo. This is basically a role that they used Lorenzo in. They got 3 down linemen, really 4 defensive linemen on the field here. But where's that 4th rusher coming from? Technically, Epenessa could drop in the coverage. So just like Zoe, he is kind of that joker here, as we said. Is he rushing? Is he dropping? Maybe Adams is rushing. Again, how they set up and presented this really screwed up the offensive line blocking and their assignments, and most of all, got Epenessa and Groot one-on-ones, which is what you want to do. You want to get those guys one-on-one so that they can win with those skills that they've developed and improved on, like Epenessa has. And finally, the last thing, like you talked about, yes, that length, but this is almost something that we always talk about with Rousseau is, maybe he's not going to get there, but he's going to reach around a guy, reach around the block, use those long arms to still affect the play, even though he's not going to get home. To see Epenessa start to do that a little more, that's exciting. That means he's processing the game a lot faster and realizing a guy like Dalton's, he's ready to deliver the ball. Get your hand up, do what you can to affect the play. He does there. Very, very fun stuff to watch from Epenessa. Here's another play from Epenessa. We're going to take it from this angle because this is where he just, basically puts this dude on his ass. And I want to play it from this angle just because you can see the get off here. But I talked about vertical sets and what that means from an offensive line standpoint. This is Juan Castillo. This is what Castillo, when he was the offensive line coach for the Bills, had Deion Dawkins, a guy who's pretty athletic, doing is instead of using angle sets and meeting that guy out wide, widening the pocket. What he has his offensive linemen do, specifically the tackles, is he has them stay on a line and vertical set straight back. So he's basically dropping backwards. And this guy, if you watch him, he's not able to stay in that vertical set long. And when he tries to open up, it's too late. Epenessa's into his chest, and that offensive lineman is on his ass, and Epenessa is hitting the quarterback. So fun stuff from Epenessa, man. Speed to power transition. And
long arm.
I mean, he's making those wild plays, and that's what you want to see from this young edge rusher.
Yeah, this was the play of the day, the kind of a little double homicide action on the tackle and Andy Dalton. So I'm going to read a quote from Epenessa, but I want you to freeze frame on this rush. So go forward a little. I'm going to tell you when to freeze it. Freeze a little more, right there. So right there. Beautiful. Perfect timing. So Epenessa talked about, leaving on this as I read this quote, if you'll bear with me. So Epenessa, after the game, talked about some of the things they wanted to do against the Bears offensive linemen. And he was asked in reference to this play. And AJ Epenessa, he talked about some things. Then he said, quote, we were studying them, watching their sets, and then just working on our reactions. And on that one, he kicked back really fast. And so we were thinking power with that one. So whenever he's moving back so quickly, you can put some power on him before he sets his feet, and they're unable to stop it as easily. And that's exactly what we saw. Epenessa right there. Exactly what he said. The offensive tackle kicked out so fast, Eric, like you mentioned. Epenessa reads that, knows that he's trying to get into that vertical set. He gets that long arm while that tackle is not set, while he's not balanced, and he pinpoints it perfectly right on that inside shoulder. He gets full extension, and he just barrels him over. And it's because of his understanding of what the tackle is trying to do in this situation. He knows the scheme. He knows the protection and the idea and the philosophy behind it. And he takes advantage of it through his release off the line. And then he times it with his reaction of what the tackle is trying to do. He sees the vertical set and hesitates a little. And as soon as that offensive tackle stops his feet and gets himself in that position, Epenessa attacks like a shark when he sees blood. And there's his patented long arm, gets it right in on the shoulder pad, explosion, extension, sack, fumble, brutality. it was really a beautiful thing to see the post-game press conference and hear him talk about it, because again, it's awesome to see these things physically. For me, and I know for you as well, it's almost just exciting, if not more so, to know what they're connecting on the mental side of it and why, the whys and the reasoning behind what they're doing on the field. And this came from studying and preparation, and AJ Epenessa tied it in with execution. And just, he times that long arm so beautifully. I could watch this forever. Like the tackle is literally trying to get set because he kicked out so fast. Like Epenessa said, look at that. He's done. It's over. He's got nothing. He's off balance. He's in poor position. AJ Epenessa has him dead to rights. And this is Cobra Kai, just sweep the leg, Mortal Kombat, finish him type stuff. And it's, oh God, I feel so bad for that dude. And then he just swarms him. He hurls himself at him like a spider monkey and just, I could watch this play. We could have just done a film room just on this play. I love it that much. Also, we get lost in it, but credit to F.A. Obata on this play with a little bit of a club and a swipe inside as you start to show him there. He was a guy who, the last 2 weeks, he's really been winning consistently, and he gets the Andy Dalton here, if not for the fact that AJ Epenessa destroys him first.
Yeah, just great stuff from Epenessa on that play. And we're going to kind of change up. We're going to talk about Basham, the other edge rusher, but here he's actually bumped inside here. And I want you guys to watch how, we had someone comment that he kind of drew a double earlier on one of the rushes for I think on Groot sack, where the line slid and two guys picked up Basham here. Here you see something similar where he kind of draws two offensive linemen here. And that really opens up things for other people. And you're going to see Adams with a really good game as a pass rusher. He I think technically green dog in here where he has a running back in coverage, but you'll see as the ball snap, he sees this guy shift to block. That means he can go ahead and rush. That's a green dog blitz. He gets the green light to rush and does a really good job of swimming over that guy as that center slide this way to Basham to kind of help out on Basham. So, again, it helps others, but, Basham occupies two here, but he still stacks, keeps his eye on the ball as Dalton steps up. He runs right into the arms of Basham there, and Daryl Johnson is also there on that play. Another play here from Basham. This is where I thought Basham, I know it's a big debate about what's pro ready. Well, when it came to stopping the run, you guys, if you go to cover one, I have a run game breakdown on Basham on how well he fits into his runs, how he's able to read run blocking concepts. You see that here. Here he's just setting the edge. But more times than not, you see the formation, the defensive front is set with the three tack right here to the left side of the screen. So this is what we call the B bubble. Look at the lane right here from Basham to the nose tackle. This is the B gap bubble that teams like to attack, like Lorenzo Alexander and I broke down years ago. This is where they want to go. They want to go right there, and you see them try to do that, but you see the edge defender Basham get right into the backfield and totally collapse that run, so much so that he's able to help make the tackle as that running back cuts it back. Basically chases him right into the arms of F.A. Obata.
Love it. I love the edge setting aspect of Basham. I'm hoping his pass rush refinement will come, but we are seeing some positive things in his ability to set the edge. And look at him standing tall there. He turns that play back inside because of his strength and his size and his positioning. He doesn't get blown off. He maintains integrity in his gap and his responsibility and allows the rest of the defense to flow. And we get another, much like what we saw earlier with Rousseau on his BCR responsibility, and we saw the play action and he goes with Dalton. This time we see Obata keep eyes on Dalton, on Fields there, sees that it's a run and crashes down and allows for support. This to me is a good example of a lot of team things going on, but this is the prototypical, like, everybody does their 1/11th. Basham plays his role, turns it back inside. The rest of the defense in the front seven, they fill. Obata does his responsibility. It's a play that ends up being a nice standout play for Basham and Obata, but it's really done because everyone collectively does their job like they're supposed to. And it's a really sound quality rep and snap from Boogie Basham early in his career.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the big defensive end, Shaq Lawson, that used to be on the Bills.
Yes, everybody's loving that.
They need that kind of role, that role player back. They need that Shaq Lawson who's going to stack a tackle, stack a tight end, hold the edge, even break through and make tackles for loss like Basham did there. I was not totally ecstatic about him as a pass rusher. I liked his run defending way more than I liked his pass rushing skills and combinations for that matter. So I think he's going to be just fine. I think what's interesting, and I don't want to get too off topic here or on a tangent, but Epenessa came in heavy his first year. They made him lose weight. They didn't really do that with Basham. What that tells me is that maybe they want him a little heavier for now, for this year, so they can bump him inside from time to time, which you saw in this game.
Yes.
And if you watch Brian Baldinger's clips on Twitter, he broke down at least one of the plays from Basham where he was inside stacking, holding his gap, integrity there. So something to keep an eye on there. Here's another play where that size, that power on games when he twists inside right there. And these two offensive linemen are trying to basically contain Basham here and cover him up. Well, guess what? He's at full speed. He's swimming inside here and ripping through that guard. Like that edge, as soon as he crashes inside, that edge right there and that gap is compromised. Basham is affecting Fields there, forcing him to get rid of the ball and slamming him. That's one thing that, like, yes, Fields got the ball away, but the Bills got some good hits on him in this game.
Yeah, they punished him. We know the Andre Smith helmet-to-helmet hit that was called, but this was a nice finish from Basham to just kind of dump Fields a little bit. I'm glad Fields didn't get hurt, but I love the idea of sending a message to the opposing offense and especially to their quarterback. But you hit it with Basham. I love how he jumps inside with the swim, and he also gets skinny. He changes his surface area as he goes between the tackle and guard. He doesn't allow his chest to be wide open. He doesn't make it easy for someone to get a hand on him. That he occupies both of those guys, gives Zimmer an opportunity to swing around there and almost stunt around the outside as Basham occupies both guys. But in occupying both guys, he just maintains his momentum and his power. And exactly like you said, he rips through that guard. I love seeing the relentless effort here from start to finish.
That's how he wins.
Snap. Yeah, 1,000%. This is an effort, relentless attacking mindset of a snap. He jumps inside from the get-go as soon as the ball is snapped with an aggressive swim, gets skinny, aggressive rip, and then you see an aggressive finish to send a message to another rookie. This was a mean, nasty, physical snap. I almost said sack there, but a physical snap from Boogie Basham, and really highlighted a day where we saw this play came in the second half, but in the first half of this game, the Bills had a 57% pressure rate on Andy Dalton. In the second half, they had something in the mid-40s on Justin Fields. It was an attack mindset for everyone, and Basham's play right there really is a microcosm of what they did on this day.
Yeah, we talk about versatility. You guys have been mentioning Obata. He flashed this week. He flashed last week versus the Lions. Here he is bumped inside. And one thing I like about him is not just his size, but when he bumps inside, he's going to get mismatches against guards with his first move quickness. You see that guard try to step up and punch him and really try to shoot down. He feels Obata not just going into this gap, but kind of swinging back across his face, kind of his move. As we saw, some of the other edge rushers kind of do that when they bump inside. This guy knows it's coming. So what does he do with that right hand? He tries punching to shut that down, but he's so quick and uses his hand to swim that right there. You see that really nice hand usage right there to get into that gap. This guy, the center, is looking this way. So now Obata has that lane. You see him just creating chaos, forcing Justin Fields to get off the spot, to drop his eyes. And then you just have Butler just waiting on him. You'll see that from the Bills when you go back and watch this film again, guys, is they're having three guys be, attack like the last play. Zimmer was kind of that contained player, right? Well, everyone's attacking here. Butler knows he's not going to get there. He just occupied two, but he's keeping his eye on the ball and trying to, contain that quarterback there as Obata creates that disruption. And he forces the throw. And next thing you know, the Bills rally and force fourth down. That was a 3rd and long play. Obata here, they slant him inside. And he just wins versus guards, play in and play out, creating disruption, forcing Fields to run almost like Josh Allen in his rookie year.
just so I started to feel bad for Justin Fields at a certain point because of the havoc and the chaos. I loved what Butler did on the previous snap, and I love, again, this is the part of the game where they started to change what they were doing to Fields. They started changing their rush angles and their pass rush attack plan up front, and I love this play I like a lot of things that F.A. Obata does. You really, I think, opened up a lot of content creators' eyes and fans' eyes to Obata when you broke down a lot of what he did with Carolina last year and how efficient he was as a pass rusher, especially from that inside. I love on this play how he steps inside, he starts to go inside, and then he plants hard. And look how tight.
Chop, man. Look
Yes,
at that chop and swim, dude.
The chop to swim. We saw it last week on Rousseau's sack on the first drive for Detroit. We saw a very similar tight swim move from Harrison Phillips. This looks like something that is very much coached and instilled in this defensive line. He gets that chop, that nice tight swim move, again, reducing surface area, maintaining momentum, and being able to stay forward with power. Just, it's unfortunate he doesn't get the sack here. But he absolutely destroys the pocket, and we get a nice hustle and effort from Butler and the rest of the defensive line to really swarm. And this is another play too, you clued in on it with Vernon Butler a couple plays ago, kind of acting as that spy a little bit. We see that here from F.A. Obata. We see the other three defensive linemen get upfield and attack. We see Obata cut inside and jump inside, but then sit and watch. He's just occupying guys, and look where his head is. He's not trying to get upfield. He's not trying to penetrate. He is standing and watching Justin Fields, waiting for what he's going to do. And then Justin Fields is a very athletic guy. He takes off, and Obata beelines it, cuts off the angle. Also, shout out to Justin Zimmer for tremendous hustle on this play. I mean, I hate just talking about a guy's hustle because I feel like it diminishes a lot of what they do.
Sure.
But Justin Zimmer is just all hustle all the time. He sees that Fields is going to pop outside, quickly disengages, and affects Fields as well. And then Obata, that spy over the top. There's nowhere for Fields to go.
That's cool stuff, man. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And it was a nice adjustment to see because, again, on the first couple Fields possessions, he was really just running for like almost 40 yards a clip. And it was a nice adjustment to see and nice execution on top of it.
Yeah, it was fun stuff to watch Obata because he just creates chaos. But he also has that athleticism where they can throw him into a spiral. So that's one thing that I've noticed the last 2 weeks as far as the edge rushers that are bumping inside is, they throw in these wrinkles where they become almost like spies, and they're running all these different games with the other three rushers and creating that chaos, trying to get the quarterback to drop his eyes like you saw there, and then try to break the pocket thinking he has a soft edge. And the next thing you know, Obata and everyone else is rallying to the ball. So that's something that you guys need to keep an eye on going forward. So, it was a segue there. You saw Johnson kind of loop inside on that last play here. Just really good job of kind of collapsing the pocket here. He's someone that has come on in this preseason. It kind of started off slow in camp from all reports, but another guy that can use that long arm and that power to kind of collapse a pocket here. But we have to end with Justin Zimmer. It was kind of a segue that last play. So we have to end with some Justin Zimmer highlights and plays because they're, like you said, he's not always going to get all the shine and all the stats in the stat book. This guy's playing nose tackle at his size. But look at the pad level here. He's a nose tackle here. He's shade nose tackle here. Look at the pad level, how low he is. Look at and watch the athleticism and range on these next few plays. So Bears are trying to run a wide zone run to the left side of the screen with a double tight end set. Look at him get his helmet into his gap, find the ball. That guy's going out wide. What does he do? He works across the face and then makes a tackle down the line of scrimmage. I mean, this is something that, even Starr, as good as he is, he doesn't have this type of athleticism and lateral agility anymore. You see these kind of plays from Zimmer play in and play out. I really like this one too. Another one, playing with leverage, right? That's really when a guy's not that big, being able to stack and shed from the nose tackle position at his size is all about leverage. And really it comes back to his sports growing up, right?
Yeah, his leverage and pad level is tremendous. I love this play with stop it right there. He has his head right there. Beautiful. Thank you. He has his head already in the backfield as he's engaged with his man. He has his hat on the inside, maintaining, body in the hole type thing. And as he starts to work through his man, and we see where this play is trying to go. We see 64 gets a hat on a hat. Boom, right there again. Zimmer, he's still engaged. He takes another peek as he's still in the hole to see what's going on.
Helmet in his gap. That's his gap, right? He's maintaining that. It's not always about putting your whole body in there, right? And it's all getting your eyes, getting your helmet in there. That's all a running back needs to see to say, hey, he's got leverage on that gap. I can't go that way. I'm going to stay inside this little alley right here and get up inside that, get as much as I can, right?
Yep, 1,000%. You played running back. I played running back. You see defensive linemen, you see any flash of color on that inside in some hole, and you're like, oh, nope, they got that. I need to go where that color is not. So Zimmer stays, maintains, keeps his hat in that hole. Williams cuts to the right, wants to go up inside, and we already see Zimmer making an instantaneous reaction. He's starting to disengage, gets the rest of his body into that other aspect of the hole, influences Williams. We also see a nice crash down from, I believe, Daryl Johnson on the other end, and just forces. This was this whole like
the fumble.
Who forced
this
the
is
fumble?
The fumble by Mata. Yeah.
Who forced it? Who did it? And I love DeMar Hamlin coming up, recognizing, getting on the ball right away. But a lot of this, credit to, how the fumble was caused, but this started because Zimmer forced this play back inside with his upper body positioning and head placement. And then with his hustle and ability to disengage, disrupted this one. And this one, I love the play recognition, but it's just the hustle. Also, credit to Vernon Butler on this one as well for some good hustle. But Zimmer recognizes this almost immediately and is like, nuh-uh, and just burns it down the line, takes a proper angle. One-man wrecking crew, man. Like, this is just so encouraging for a dude like him, a guy who was on the practice squad, came up, has that hand-to-God punch against the Patriots with Cam Newton, and has just been on an uptick ever since, and really happy for him with his effort and his execution that we've seen. And there's another one too. We get some misdirection from the Bears on this one, with that jet sweep action, but they fake that. They run the zone to the left. We have the receiver crashing down on the defensive end. And this play is all Zimmer. He gets across the face of his man, almost like what we talked about earlier. What Ryan Bates did not allow his man to do was get across his face. In this aspect, Zimmer gets across the Bears center's face and throws off this play. But not only does he do that, again, he's working through his man, eyes in the backfield. He gets across the face of the center in this action so that he turns the play back inside and then just quickly, all right, cool, disengages, get out of my way, and then makes the play. It's just, again, this Justin Zimmer on this one play shut everything down almost by himself because of his angle, his hustle, and his intelligence of what the play was and what his responsibility was. It's beautiful technique from Justin Zimmer here.
Yeah, you mentioned that jet action across. If they were to hand that off, Zimmer's not making that play. He sticks to his keys. He's reading the block of the center here, the offensive lineman in front of him. Again, gets his helmet in the hole. He realizes that Fields is pitching it out right now. So guess what? I don't need to keep my eyes and helmet in this side. I'm going to get across the face of this guy who already has leverage naturally because, again, gap integrity. He's in his gap. Now you have a gap being subtracted with the flow of the jet action right there, and you get a puller out front as well. So now I need to get out wide. I'm out leverage. I need to get across the face of this offensive lineman. And once he does, he feels it. He senses it. He sees the ball cut back, and he's just right there to stop Herbert. A really good running back who I think has a bright future. Just, again, the range, the athleticism. He's just a better athlete, has a better feel for the game, the offensive lineman that he was up against. And we saw several plays like this as we broke down from him in this game and a lot of games that he's played in. So those are things that at the nose tackle position, you don't expect to see. You don't expect him to be chasing down screens on the backside unless you're Ed Oliver. Like last year playing Ed Oliver at nose tackle. So to see him make those plays, to play with that hustle, to play with that pad level and leverage, to show that range down the line of scrimmage, it makes it very difficult for teams to outflank you, to get the ball on the edge, let alone right up the middle and get those tough yards. So we had to end with a blue-collar type player, and that guy was Justin Zimmer. So another good win for the Bills. They're kind of on a hot streak now when it comes to the preseason, right?
Yeah, they were undefeated last year in the preseason, and if they win at home against Green Bay this week, they will complete another preseason undefeated, and the record is cool. It'd be a nice, fun little thing to say, but I think it's more the idea of what these wins mean and how the Bills are winning. And I think it's just at this point a testament to the quality and depth that they've established in all three phases for this team, and the understanding and the wherewithal that all these players have and what the coaching staff is doing. Again, we saw a lot of plays tonight and last week in the film room as well of just really good individual efforts and plays, but we also saw a lot of good creativity and scheming offensively and defensively. You know, I loved your point on AJ Epenessa's, rush from that Joker spot. They made it look like, okay, we almost got like a zone blitz or a rush coming off the left, and then out of nowhere you just drop. And at that point, yeah, maybe 4 are rushing, maybe 5, maybe it's only 3. You're doing these mental Jedi mind trick mind games with the offensive line, and you're setting up your players with the opportunity to be in position for success. And we're seeing good execution from the players. We're seeing good scheming and designing from the coaching staff. And it's a very encouraging thing that we've seen these last 2 weeks, and it's a very encouraging spot that the Buffalo Bills are in this year, especially with so much hope and expectation for what this season could potentially mean.
No, definitely, man. I'm excited that everyone was able to break down some of these plays with us and some of the highlights of the game against the Bears. In about a half an hour, our guys Rob and Kyle will be live as well doing Cover One Roundup. Again, kind of rounding up some of the themes of this game and some of the news that may have dropped. They have been doing a great job. Not just writing. That's the thing. They're writers. They're feature writers for Cover One, but they also do a good job on the podcast. So check them out at 9:00 right after us. If you got a few more moments to take in that Bills content. We know everyone would rather, watch some Bills content or consume some Bills content than sleep, because the sleep is cousin of death. Everyone knows that. But for those that are looking to consume your content, Anthony, where can they find you and on what nights? I know this last week, again, I said I have a graphic, but we had so many plays to break down, I wasn't able to make a graphic to let everyone know where to find you.
No, it's fine. I have allowed myself to be branded the workhorse of Cover One since you so cleverly christened me that last week. You can find me every Thursday night as the host of Disguise Coverage live at 9 p.m. and then put up after, staying on YouTube, but then also on any and every podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, anything and everything. You can also find me as one of the 3 co-hosts of the Cover One Fantasy Football Show. We will be live this upcoming Sunday night at 9:30. That was a tremendous Illmatic reference. I'm glad someone else picked up on it. I thought I was going to be the only one, but well done, Sabres, dude. You're right. I shouldn't have undersold everybody like that. Yeah, Cover One Fantasy Show that'll be live this upcoming Sunday. But once the regular season kicks off, as we start to move forward, we will be live Friday nights at 9:00 for the Cover One Fantasy Show to be able to give everybody the most up-to-minute and in-depth analysis, takes, and breakdowns to get you set up for fantasy football success as the weekend hits. And yeah, I'm a little bit everywhere. I'm there. And then I'm here on the film room as much as you'll have me. I love being here, and I love the engagement and the energy that everyone's been bringing in the chat. It's been an awesome time to be experiencing this from the Cover One aspect. And now you guys get to leave and see some stuff on the Cover One roundup. And that's the beauty about Cover One. We got you covered almost every single day of the week with amazing analysis, content breakdowns. You got the website. I don't really think a Bills fan needs any more than what we got. So it's a good time.
Yeah. One-stop shop, man. One-stop shop. No, it's been fun. Again, till next week, I'm your host, Eric Turner of the Film Room. That's Anthony Prohaska from Disguise Coverage. We will see you next week, guys.